One of the most shocking crimes in American history, which took place at the end of the 1960s, is still widely known today because of the brutality of the crime, the celebrity status of some of the victims, and the bizarre circumstances behind the 7 murders. The events came to be known as the Manson family murders, although the members of this family weren't related. The name originated from the ringleader of the group, Charles Manson, who, through a combination of psychedelics, charisma, and his preacher-like persona, convinced several people, the members of his so-called family, to kill on his request. Charles Manson was born in 1934 to a teenage mother and spent his childhood being looked after by several relatives. He would start a life of crime somewhere around the age of 9. He had no fixed address and drifted between San Francisco and California when he wasn't in prison. In fact, he would do so much time in jail that once, when he was released from prison in 1967, he asked the warden if he could just stay. His criminal record included theft, pimping, larceny, armed robbery, and burglary. He'd been married twice and had 2 children who he abandoned during his various prison sentences, where he learned to play guitar. 1967 would be the year when Madson connected with the first member of his family, Mary Teresa Bruner, later known as Mother Mary, who was working as a librarian and previously graduated from the University of Wisconsin. She would begin a relationship with Charlie, and the two would drive around in a van, meeting other people, mostly women, as time went by. This included Lynette Fromm from Venice, California. When Madson found her sitting at a bus stop depressed, he guessed correctly that her dad had thrown her out. Lynette would go on to believe that Charles Manson had psychic powers. Her nickname, Squeaky, would be given to her later by a man named George Spann, who owned a ranch where the Manson family would eventually settle down. Before life on the ranch, Manson would meet and adopt more girls with emotional issues, including Patricia Krenwinkel and Susan Atkins in 1967. Mary Bruner would become pregnant and would have the first of several of the Manson family babies. The family would grow to be as large as 20 to 30 people, mostly made up of misfits, radicals, and runaway teenagers. Other notable members would include Leslie Van Houten, Tex Watson, Bobby Beausoleil, Steve Clem Grogan, and Linda Kasabian. Through a chance meeting with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, Charlie would arrange recording sessions trying to get a record deal, but became angry over not getting the record contract he wanted, possibly because of his thoughts about what he called helter-skelter, a race war between white and black people that Charles Manson was positive would happen in the near future. When he went to a mansion to discuss his music dispute with a man named Terry Melcher in 1969, he would find that Terry had moved, and Sharon Tate lived there with director Roman Polanski instead. In July of 1969, Manson family members including Bobby Beausoleil would murder his acquaintance, Gary Hinman, and write the words "Political Piggy" in his blood on the wall. On August 8th and 9th, 1969, members of the Manson family, Atkins, Krenwinkel, Watson, and Kasabian, acting on orders from Charles Manson, murdered pregnant actress Sharon Tate and the 4 friends with her at home. The word "pig" is written on the wall. Roman Polanski is not at home at the time. A day later, Van Houten, Watson, and Krenwinkel are sent to kill Leno and Rosemary Bianca at their home, seemingly picked at random. Helter Skelter and "Death to Pigs" is written on their walls. Charles Manson and the members of his family were arrested, tried, and all sentenced to the death penalty, except for Linda Kasabian, who turned state's witness. Their sentences were commuted to life when California abolished the death penalty in 1972. Mary Bruner was paroled from jail and vanished from the public eye in 1977. Lynette Squeaky Fromm, who was not involved with the murders, attempted to assassinate President Gerald Ford in 1975. She would serve 34 years in jail and get paroled in 2009. Susan Atkins died in jail in 2009, the same year Lynette Squeaky Fromm was released. Charles Manson died in jail at 83 years old after spending decades in jail. Bobby Beausoleil, Tex Watson, and Leslie Van Houten are still in jail. Patricia Krenwinkel is as well, although she could be released at any time. The Manson family is gone, but never forgotten, just like their crimes and their victims.